Hey, what's going on YouTube? Dit Commando here. My name's Ryan, and I'm a former Royal Marines Commando from the United Kingdom. Okay, so today we've got a good video for you guys. We're going to be reacting to could the United States invade the United Kingdom if they wanted to? It's a video from 2019, guys, and this one's going to be a bit of a I think it's going to cause a lot of debate in the comment section. I'm open to debate anyone on the comments as well. But let's just see what it provokes. Okay. Now, I just want to express to you guys before we get into it. There's no malice. All right. I've worked alongside U.S. military, the U.S. Marines when I was in the Marines myself, and I have nothing but love, adoration, and respect for every single American out there. I love you guys. I love your country, and it's got a very, very big place in my heart. Okay, I love you guys. So this is literally for reactionary purposes, and yeah, let's just be real. Okay, let's just be honest. Let's just be real, and let's not get too patriotic about things and cloud our judgment. Okay, so hopefully you guys can understand where we're coming from. It's one of those videos in it where my dad's bigger than your dad, but we'll just listen to the numbers, and hopefully you like my account of it, and we can just get straight into this one, guys. So before we do, please do me a favor. Please do me a favor. There's two things I want you to do, actually. I'm asking loads of you. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel, guys. Subscribe. And also, if you check the links in the description part, I've got loads of different social media accounts that I'm linked to, so please can you follow me on there, all right? I'm trying to get my Instagram followers up, and TikTok. I'm on TikTok, guys, so if you've got any questions, I reply by video on TikTok, so let's get them followers up, okay? But anyway, that's enough of me talk. And members, you guys are legends. If you want to sponsor the channel like them wonderful people, please press the join button or just click on the link in the description if you're using your phone, and become a member. But other than that, boom, let's get straight into it, guys. Enjoy this one. Oh man, this is going to be I can see the comments now. This is probably going to be my most commented on video. Could the United States invade the United Kingdom if they wanted to? Actually, guys, answer that below and let me know why.
We all know US and UK are close allies, and that US armed might is far greater than that of UK. But just for argument's sake, and to learn what sort of limitations waging warfare across the ocean implies, this video will explore US invading the United Kingdom. So, with just the airplanes and ships left to count on, is an invasion over the Atlantic viable?
Is it? Let me know in the comments. Is an invasion across the Atlantic viable? Think of the battlegrounds. This is the first time I'm reacting to this type of content from this channel. I've heard loads of good things about this, so I'm looking forward to it, guys.
Добро пожаловать в штаб-квартире Бинков.
Welcome to Binkov's HQ. You know, not many managed to invade Britain. Ones that did were the Vikings. And if you like Vikings, War of Clans might be the browser game you're looking for. Did you know that people playing Vikings today are more numerous than the total number of actual Vikings that ever lived? Join game and beef up my economy box today. You will get bonus play now and live, build and fight like a Viking. And now, could US military successfully invade UK if it wanted to? Some rules will apply. US gets no overseas bases and all other countries are impassable. Distance from US to
no other overseas bases. Now, America's got like over 800 bases in the world, so will that have an effect? I don't know, guys, I don't know.
UK mainland is pretty big, especially when reaching London. Before trying to land any troops, the seas must first be clear of British ships, and Royal Air Force must be suppressed. US has a massive advantage when it comes to naval assets. Basically, all of its assets are made for oceans and could operate near UK if needed. While the Americans would need to sail to and from Britain, taking weeks away from their actual presence, US Navy could pretty much do whatever it pleases near the UK. It's interesting to point out that most of US ships do not carry anti-ship missiles. US Navy prefers to use their carriers for such missions. British Royal Navy is to go down a similar route. Their Harpoon missiles are old and set to be retired soon. Not all ships have them. Only a
Right,
minor
okay.
part of the British fleet has modern air defense systems. Basically, the sea war would be
so they haven't got any harpoons or anything like that. Why? Are they relying on air support to be able to use that function instead? I'm guessing so, but that would, Great Britain wouldn't really do well either because our aircraft carriers are pretty much non-existent compared to most navies out there who have aircraft carriers anyway.
fought above the sea and under it, but the British lacked anti-ship missiles for its aircraft. Furthermore, British Tornado aircraft ceased to train for the anti-ship missions almost 2 decades ago. Basically, if UK had to try and do air raids against US fleet, it would be down to 2 weapons, laser-guided bombs and short-range tactical missiles.
That's not a lot.
Brimstone in particular might be the weapon of choice. While its warhead is tiny, Brimstone 2 has a decent range. Still, against dozens of potent destroyers designed to deal with many anti-ship missiles at once, it's unlikely UK could do much. British best bet would be their submarines. They're fairly
we've got
modern.
A strong submarine.
Theoretically, the British could use their ballistic missile subs as attack subs as well, and speed up the entry into service of another astute sub, while keeping one Trafalgar running a bit longer, rummaging for retired sailors to crew it.
Wow,
Still,
look at that though, guys. 16-3, 3-3, 31 LAs to the 4 Vanguards. Now, the Vanguards are quite up to date and they're really, really good, okay? But, 31-4, yeah, guys, we get smashed. We get smashed on that front. We can't lie with it. Those numbers don't lie, guys. Britain gets hammered.
the British would be far outnumbered. US submarine fleet dwarfs theirs.
Yes.
Given a bit less time on station and British home advantage when it comes to resupply, the balance of power may not be quite 6-1. Still, it's no question the British subs would get hunted down within months. Aerial anti-submarine platforms would also play a large role. And while the British could use all their assets, even just the deployable portion of US assets would be enough to force the British subs into hiding. Furthermore, US carrier-based air power would make it hard for British anti-sub helicopters to operate. The main force projection would be done by US carriers, naturally. US could choose whether to use more carriers initially and then have less available later on, or to maintain a smaller number on constant patrol. To defeat the British Air Force, the former is more likely. US nominally has 11 carriers, but only 9 air wings. It does have an additional support wing, which is a lot bigger. It may be the source of 1 or 2 more combat wings after some months of preparation. But crews aren't the only issue. Lifespan of a carrier necessarily involves lengthy maintenance periods. Important to note is that the deployable period doesn't mean the carrier can actually be on a mission the whole time. Usually 1 or 2 deployments are made during those 18 months.
Yeah, also, guys, they need to think about, and I know US does this very, very well, is their rotations of manpower. They get different people involved on a rotationary basis, so the people don't burn out. Their individual soldiers and sailors and air crewmen don't burn out. They rotate them round, all right? So they've got a really, really, really good chain of command in terms of how they operate and rotate people in. I really do like the way they set it up, but the numbers, guys, don't lie. America is huge in comparison.
Missions are usually 6 to 8 months long, and several months are needed to prep the carrier and its wing for another mission. Shorter missions might give more deployments in the short term, but in the long term, they would require even more maintenance for every month spent out at sea. Because of all that, it's unrealistic US would send out more than 6 carriers at once, after a few months of prep time. Similar issues would affect the aviation assault ships. Perhaps 4 to 6 could be deployed at once, after some preparations. Grand total of combat planes US Navy and Marine Corps could muster in a few months long air campaign is thus smaller than the total number of US planes. US might fly in fresh planes to replace ones that got lost.
Crazy.
Flying them over the ocean to a carrier would be doable.
Hang on a minute. That can't be real. Is that what? Total inventory of deployable US Navy and Marine Corps combat planes. 1,000 active, 340 stored. Seriously? Dude, I am impressed. We get hammered from the sky as well.
What could the British respond with? Royal Air Force is smaller than even the readily available US planes deployed on carriers. Another huge issue for the British would be their lack of air defenses. Everything
Seriously?
they currently have are fairly low altitude systems, meaning the US would be free to bomb them from high up with guided weapons. UK would also suffer the US cruise missile barrage. While the Brits have some such missiles of their own, it's unlikely they would be used against the faraway US bases. Even the subs that could carry them would be better utilized for defense of the homeland. While not all could be launched at once, US could sustain the effort. The British Air Force would be mostly paralyzed on the ground. US has also a much bigger recon platform fleet, especially when it comes to satellites. British lack those, as in the real world they timeshare some US spy satellites.
Right, it's a good way of, let's remember this as well. So I know we're talking about hypotheticals and all of that, but let's be real about this. Britain and America are like that, right? We're hand in hand. We're like a big brother, little brother relationship, all right? And America's our big brother. We're the little brother who, we're very, very good. We're arguably, in terms of, soldier and professionalism, experience across the globe, history. We have some fantastically trained men and women in our British military, which paved the way for modern day militaries such as the United States and stuff. I mean, our special forces paved the way for all special forces around the world. The Delta Force and learnt most of their stuff from the special boat service and the special air service, and that's true, guys. All right, you might not believe that, but that is true. We paved the way for most militaries. However, America's budget, time, conflicts that they've been in, devotion to their country has allowed them to just go boom through the roof. Now, we would never go to war together. I know you can't say never, but it would never happen anyway. But this is just one of those, isn't it, really, where it's a hypothetical situation, and to be honest with you, I would never like to see it happen because I love you guys from over the pond. I love my American brothers.
US aircraft would be looking for targets as well. Britain would have no real means of scouting the US bases. US AWACS type planes would be plentiful, while British ones would mostly be trapped on the ground, with runways and highways being mostly inoperative. Thus the Royal Air Force would slowly get destroyed on the ground. When they would be
at this rate, it doesn't even seem like it would be slowly. It would take place pretty quick, to be fair, from what I've seen.
Able to get some planes airborne, they still may not choose to engage the Americans, as it's likely US attack waves would be made of close to 100 planes with possibly as many fighters as Britain would muster per each local interception, or more. The best Britain could hope for would be a roughly equal kill ratio in the air, and when the losses on the ground are included over months of a protracted bombing campaign, US would still be left with a sizable force. All this didn't even include the US Air Force, while the scenario requires it to use the bases inside.
What? So the US Air Force isn't even involved yet? It's actually frightening, the power that the US has. It's frightening.
The US, Britain could be reached. At first, bombers would be deploying cruise missiles, but later on they would be likely used for bombing missions. But could the Air Force tactical plane fleet help out as well? With very ample in-flight refueling, the answer is yes. US operates the world's biggest air tanker fleet. The Hercules-based tankers, however, are too small and would use most of the fuel just to get near Britain. Still, the remainder of the fleet has a substantial fuel offload capacity, and tankers could refuel each other. Such ops may sound complex, but compared to what the British did in Falklands War, they're fairly basic.
Yeah, that
the
is
British
true.
used a dozen tankers to refuel themselves repeatedly, keeping the bomber refueled throughout all of the route. While all of the tanker fleet would not be available due to maintenance, the rest could still offload significant fuel loads just outside Britain if needed. With several refuelings per plane, US Air Force could still expect to have around 400 combat planes in action practically every day. The British would really have no chance in the air. Within months, the US would have complete control of the air. And thus...
Oh my goodness, guys, I'm impressed and scared at the same time. What do you think about this? Is it accurate? I mean, this seems a lot more accurate than infographics, I have to say. I like this. Infographics is a good channel, but some of the stuff seems a little bit politically biased, whereas this is just, he's giving us raw stats, and I like that.
Thus, the second phase of the invasion might commence. By that time, British ships would be mostly dead, even if they hugged the shores and just aided in the air defenses. British submarines might hold out a bit longer, if not being used to actively hunt down US ships. But even if British subs managed to kill 2 US vessels for each of their own, final result would be the end of the Royal Navy.
Wow.
So at around 6 months or so into the war, the landings would be mostly unopposed, except for the Royal Army defending the shores. 6 months...
Well, the only thing he is wrong with there is saying the Royal Army. It's not the Royal Army. We have a thing called Tri-Service in the United Kingdom. Tri-Service is 3 components, 3 parts to our military: the British Army, the Royal Navy, the Royal Air Force. Now, the infantry, the real infantry that you need to be careful of and wary of in the British Army is the SAS, Special Air Service, and the Parachute Regiment and the Pathfinders. We have other infantry battalions as well. The Royal Navy, obviously, their infantry is amphibious soldiers. The best, in my opinion, are the British Royal Marines Commandos and the Special Boat Service Special Forces. And the RAF have even infanteers as well, called the RAF Regiment. Okay, and yeah, so the only royal out of all of those is the Royal Marines that I've mentioned, guys. So a British Royal British Military Army doesn't exist. That's not the right terminology. Yeah.
This would be enough for US to assemble pretty much all of their active and reserve assets. In addition to landing ships, US could count on numerous cargo assets of its Sea Lift Command and Reserve Fleet in case a port is secured. US Airborne could also help, with the numbers shown probably growing with newly trained paratroopers.
Right.
Getting additional heavier equipment for them, however, would not be likely, given the time limit. US transport plane fleet is pretty big, and should be able to drop all the airborne troops within days. US could be looking at close to 30,000 troops during the first day, and close to 20,000 more the day after.
That's
Subsequent
incredible.
days would see fewer and fewer troops being added, and more supplies being brought in. The British would enjoy more soldiers than shown before. The reserve mentioned covers only the soldiers receiving some training periodically, and soldiers for whom some heavy equipment is stored. In an event of a
ground
total
troops
war,
on
Britain
half
would be using those 6
million.
months to mobilize as many soldiers as possible. While they would be equipped with basically just rifles, and while their training would be less than adequate, they would still boost the overall numbers several times. Yet all those soldiers may not be enough, as UK has a problem of geography.
Yes.
Its landmass is just too large. Its coastline is very long. Even when taking just the western part of its coastline into account, the area to be defended is huge. And what about the islands? Perfect for US to take and entrench themselves at, before launching further landings from them. Most of those areas are sufficiently far away from the mainland that British artillery would not be much of a factor.
That's true.
And what about Northern Ireland? There are just too many places for US to concentrate its assault on. The British would not...
That's the thing, guys. They haven't talked about one major component, and let me know what your thoughts are on this, is morale. Now, America is ahead at this point massively. They've destroyed the Royal Navy, they've destroyed the Air Force, they've bombarded Britain with bombs. The infantry, the soldiers, the boots on the ground, their morale is not going to be high at all. At all, guys. So that's going to come into play as well.
Not be able to move their forces around easily and protect those islands or the Northern Ireland. So the islands would fall one by one. Then either Northern Ireland would be taken or part of Great Britain would fall. Hard to traverse overland Scotland would be an obvious choice, though that would also slow down US breakthrough as well later on. Cornwall or Devon are also decent picks, as British defenders lack room to swoop down on the US beachhead from all directions. Though such areas...
Disagree with that one, just because I used to live down there, and who have you got based down there? You've got the Royal Marines, you've got the Special Forces as well, so it's that beachheads is those beachheads are quite tricky, guys. So it's also our land and we know it best. So in terms of defenses, it depends on how much manpower you actually place down there as well, because some of those beachheads are really, really dangerous. And Scotland as well isn't an easy choice because, let's face it, it's one of the harshest environments on the planet, guys, and even Scottish people, find it difficult to operate there. So it would be hard land to operate in, to take from. It depends on what time of year as well. If you're doing it in the winter, it's almost impassable, inoperable. And the British troops are well renowned for operating in this kind of conditions because these are the conditions we brought up in. So we have got an advantage of local geography in terms of operating in that environment, guys, and knowing exactly where the best places to operate from are. So that's one thing, one tactical advantage, I guess.
Areas would likely be more heavily populated by British military to begin with. Once the US manages to secure ports and airfields and brings in US Army reinforcements, it would be basically game over for the British. US would build up its helicopter force on the areas it has taken, which is considerable. While the British have a fleet of their own to help quickly distribute its forces where needed, their numbers are small. Both sides
Tiny.
would of course be losing many helicopters, US to British low-level air defenses and British to US fighter cover, which would continuously be flying over the important areas. The British would have only a small part of shown inventory of heavy weapons present at any one point the US attacks. While US would also not be disembarking thousands of its Abrams tanks or 10,000 of other heavy combat vehicles, the overwhelming fire support coming from various directions would more than make up for it. Fire support from the ships may come in form of MLR units firing from the ships rather than actual gun barrage. US ships still lack long-range gun rounds. Attack helicopters.
Those things look dangerous, guys. You don't want them things coming onto your shores and bombarding it, do you, really?
Helicopters are another way of concentrating force in one area quickly. But again, the British are far outmatched, even if just half of US numbers are present. The issue for the Americans would be time. As the scenario asks what can be achieved within 1 year, US would be under pressure to progress from
Alright, so within 1 year. That's a long time, guys, for this kind of thing. I wouldn't surmise it would take that long, to be honest.
their multiple beachheads. Northern Ireland is likely to fall within the 1 year time limit, but only minor parts of the Great Britain would be overrun by the Americans during the same time period. The British would put up a hell of a fight. Ground troops.
That's one thing I will say. The British spirit is like no other. We've been tried and tested for generations and millennia. We're warriors at heart. We might not have the best kit. In fact, we're known for not having the best kit. We're known for not having the biggest budget, but we'll give our all. That's why we serve alongside the US, and that's why the United States has us in their theatres to work alongside our trusted brothers and sisters, because, you know, we speak a different accent, but we speak the same language. Does that make sense? All right, we Britain, United Kingdom might as well be the 51st state of America. All right, it's just like a mini state, isn't it, really? Let's face it.
Loss ratio would favor the British somewhat, but when Air Force and Navy losses are added in, where Britain would suffer more heavily, the US would come out fine.
I agree.
With added large chunks of conquered territory, the US could call itself a victor. Big thanks goes to all my...
Hey guys, let's have a chat about this one. So, my final thoughts on that one. I think the way he put it was very, very good, very clear. I really like that channel, guys. Go and show them support. I'll put the link in the description. That's fascinating. I'm gonna do some more reactions on that. If you like that one as well, please like, share, and subscribe to it. But I agree with the point in the end. The USA gets victory. I mean, you don't even have to have a debate about it. Anyone who says that it wouldn't happen is stupid. All right, I've been in the British military. I know the crack. It's not about professionalism. It's about reality, and the reality is the numbers speak for themselves. Simple as that. It's a numbers game in this one. So yes, I agree, but it's not going to happen anyway. I hope it doesn't happen ever. I love America, and if you're from there, thanks for watching, guys. If you're not from there, you're from anywhere else, thank you a bunch as well. All right, I really do appreciate it. The channel has grown really quick. I don't know how it's happened so fast, but it is. I appreciate you guys, and yeah, stay tuned for another video very, very soon, guys. Peace.